Special welcome to another exciting episode where we discuss everything technology and people development. Today, I am super excited to welcome Shabir onto the podcast. Shabir, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
I am absolutely thrilled to get into today's conversation because you are quite a guru in this space. Lots of experience and a lot of insights around artificial intelligence in the energy space, artificial intelligence in the mining sector. I am super excited to get into that conversation because you are one of our speakers at the upcoming conference that will be happening in Lusaka from the 25th of June to the 27th of June, the Future of Artificial Intelligence in Africa Global Summit. So we're going to speak a little bit about that in our conversation. But before we get into the technical conversation, I would love you to just introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us who you are and the career journey that you have walked to get to where you are today.
Yes, thank you, Sarah, for those gracious and kind words that you've extended to me. I'm a disclaimer. I'm by no means a guru. I work in a field that's developing every day, so I'm a lifelong learner. And I'm learning new things all the time. But thank you very much. So yeah, about myself. I'm based in Johannesburg. I was born in South Africa. I'm a third generation South African. I'm a father. I have a family. I have a wonderful wife, and I have three children. We've been happily married now for going on 31 years. Um, and As far as my professional career goes, I after my formal education, um, I pursued obviously career in information technology. But back in the day, the term information technology was not even known as we know it. We used to call it data processing in the old days, because that's really what IT professionals were doing. They were just generating lots of paper in the IT shops, and of course I was heavily involved in that part of IT. Today it's called DevOps. We call it DevOps, which is development and operations. But I was involved in software development, then also, IT project and program management. And then, several years into my career, actually in 1994, I took a very bold decision to immigrate from South Africa. So I immigrated to New Zealand, very small, country, very far away from here. So we moved to Auckland with my family, um, and I joined a consulting company there. Also IT consulting. At that time, like I said, 1996 was early days. And that's where I got, introduced to SAP. SAP, if you know SAP, it is the largest business software company in the world. Um, you know, a global company, has over 100,000 employees globally, with a very large customer base. So I was based there in Auckland, New Zealand, with working with utility companies, so electricity and power generation. So those were early, I guess, inroads that I made into the energy sector. Okay, so I am a chief industry advisor in my current role, but I focus exclusively on the energy and natural resources sectors. So I work with utility companies, with mining companies, with oil and gas companies, with petrochemical companies, and even the metal manufacturers. So that's my area of speciality. So yeah, and then from there the journey began. I was doing quite aggressive traveling globally. So New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, the whole Asia Pacific region, working with various clients. Um, and then also to the in the in the United States, working with many companies there. And then I would say in the latter part of my career before I came back to South Africa, I spent quite a bit of time in the Middle East. I spent about 8 years in the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, working with the large oil and gas companies, in that part of the world. And then it was about time for my son to start, planning his university, career. And that's when we decided to move back to South Africa. So I moved back here, and I've been back in South Africa now for since 2009. I was out of South Africa for 14 years. Came back after 14 years. We're back here now, and happily settled. And of course, had the privilege of meeting you, and now I'm having this chat with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. What a beautiful career you've had, and just the global experience that you bring. And congratulations on your long, happy marriage. We always love to hear those, marriages that have experienced longevity. So, yes, we celebrate that, and, we elevate that celebration. Well done to you and your wife. And yeah,
Thank you.
just the global perspective that you bring, working with Americas, working with the Asia Pacific. I am super excited because at the conference, you will be bringing that kind of knowledge, the wealth of experience that you've acquired from all these areas, and, bringing a conversation around artificial intelligence and mining. Do you just want to dive into just high level the things that you're feeling compelled to share at the global summit that is coming up?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to contributing to the conversations at the global summit. I think if we talk about what's happening in the mining industry, if I speak to mining executives, all the time, and the the one common denominator when speaking to these executives is there seems to be a common thread in all of the conversations I'm having. They under severe pressure. They trying in very difficult circumstances to to increase the efficiencies, to improve the productivity, to reduce the costs. They're under pressure from their shareholders, and if you work in the mining sector, you'll know that you know the mining sector is a undergoes cyclical changes that are largely due to circumstances that are beyond their control. There's a fluctuating commodity price. They have to deal with declining grades of commodities. They work in very remote locations, and the cost of extracting minerals from from the ground, is just increasing daily. So, this calls for greater productivity. And I guess that's where, technology and artificial intelligence comes in. And, miners have now also, contrary to the very conservative stance that they've taken previously, they have now seriously looked towards these advanced technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning and so on to to try and counter the challenges that they're experiencing, and their goal obviously is to try and get their operations to be more efficient, more cost effective, and more productive, because ultimately they are accountable to shareholders, and they need to ensure that they can return value to their shareholders, and of course to the broader ecosystem, because miners don't operate in isolation. They operate within communities. They also have a responsibility to the communities they are operating in. So all of these, you know, uh, challenges, I would say, are fundamentally important for them. And on the radar of, mining executives is, what can we do, or how can we better leverage these digital technologies, and especially AI, to address these challenges. And we know for a fact that if you keep up with the research, that mining companies are actually beginning to invest in these types of technologies. In fact, in 2022, there was a McKinsey study that basically showed that at least a large part of the respondents that participated in the survey that they did, were actually spending 5% of their earnings, before income tax, on AI projects. Now that is substantial, because mining companies' earnings are substantial. So for companies to spend 5% of that or invest it back into AI, basically tells you that they are starting to seriously look at the value of AI. And also, if you look at the total spending on AI, especially in mining solutions, current research suggests that firms are spending, at least in 2024, will spend close to $300 million just on AI alone, and that trend is increasing. Okay, in 2019 it was only about 76 million. It's gone up to 208, 220, 230 million, and that's substantial. Okay, so definitely, what that suggests to us is that the investment into AI and these advanced technologies is on the rise. Okay, so that just gives you the backdrop against which mining companies are operating, and looking how they actually look at leveraging artificial intelligence. The other thing that I will also speak about at the conference is the evolution of artificial intelligence. I mean, many of these in technology, there are many of these terms just get thrown around very loosely. People talk about artificial intelligence, and then you hear about machine learning, and then there's other terms such as deep learning, and then we talk about generative AI. So, in our experience, in working with especially with the C-level executives, very often some of them, are not actually familiar with how these terms, what these terms actually mean, what what is the underlying technologies, and more specifically, how can they actually apply these different concepts, to real world scenarios that they have to deal with. So I'll be giving some insights into what is the difference between these different technologies around artificial intelligence, and more importantly, how it has evolved over the last few years. uh, and then I think the most important part, which is the most exciting part, which I'm hoping that you know those who attend the conference in June in Lusaka will benefit from, is to gain some insights into the practical use cases that artificial intelligence can bring to the mining industry. So I'll be going through the very specific use cases across the value chain, from exploration and resource assessment to the mine planning processes, and then also in the engineering and asset optimization lines of business, and of course supply chain management as well. And then I guess very important, use cases around safety and risk management, and environmental management and sustainability. So those are the specific use cases that I'll delve into, giving practical use cases and showcasing what mining companies are doing with AI. And then also I'll talk about what uh, organizations, who are interested in pursuing initiatives in artificial intelligence, what they need to do and what they need to consider if they want to capture the full potential, of artificial intelligence. There's no one size fits all, but there's definitely some proven methods and a few best practices that companies can consider when wanting to ramp up, AI initiatives. And then finally, I think an important aspect when talking about AI specifically is to address the some of the challenges and the ethical considerations in implementing AI. Um, and this is largely, due to, I guess, misconceptions that companies have about AI and the role that AI will play, and the future of work in these industries. How will it impact, the workers, etc. So a lot of the ethical discourse around AI. Um, to really delve into the detail, around that conversation. So, so in a nutshell, Sarah, those are, I would say, the key themes that I'll be exploring in my talk at the AI Summit, and I very much look forward to that.
Absolutely beautiful. And I am just excited at how much you've loaded, what you're going to speak about. And it's going to be very, very relevant. I think even for people that are not in the mining space, because people need to understand, the evolution of the AI technology. They need to understand, what is it that is driving the adoption of AI and machine learning. Yes, within the mining industry, but we find that these patterns, yes, the mining industry is quite peculiar, but you find that the trends are almost similar to the other industry. So that is very, very exciting. But just as a way of diving deep into the conversation, I would like you to just briefly explain the concept of evolution of AI technology.
Sure. Yeah. So, obviously an in-depth explanation of AI, is beyond the scope of our conversation. But I think if we talk about the evolution of AI, I think it's essential to first give a broad definition of what we mean when we talk about AI and the related technologies. Okay, because there are a number of technologies that are interrelated and all. Kind of form part and parcel of the broader concept of artificial intelligence. So, when we talk about artificial intelligence, by definition, we essentially talk about AI being a very broad field, of developing intelligent machines. Okay, or robots, if you want to use a common term. But generally, it's about the development of machines that can or have the ability to kind of mimic or replicate human behavior. And when you look at human behavior, the one significant thing that differentiates human behavior from machine behavior is the fact that humans are able to perceive. So they have perception, they can reason, they can learn, and they can solve problems. So what artificial intelligence is trying to do is basically trying to uh, develop and make intelligent machines that are able to almost function like a human does in terms of the way it perceives the environment and its surroundings, the way it can reason, the way it can self-learn, from the data that we feed it with, and the way it can problem solve. So AI is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. Now, from there, if we look at the evolution of artificial intelligence, we have sub branches of artificial intelligence that come into play. You'll often hear the term AI and machine learning, or AI and ML, being used interchangeably. Um, in a nutshell, machine learning, or ML, is a major breakthrough, in achieving AI. What machine learning actually entails is um, making use of the algorithms. Okay, algorithms, is really the fundamental mechanism behind artificial intelligence that is able to detect, certain kind of patterns in the data that you feed it with. And using that data, it is then able to learn, it is then able to perceive, and is then able to make recommendations in solving problems. Okay, by processing the data. But to do that, it needs explicit instructions, like we do when we program or write programs or applications. We write instructions instructing the application what we want to do, and what the desired outcome, or the expectation should be. So machine learning is really the I would say the technical part, of developing these algorithms that can actually do all of the work that is needed to function like like an intelligent person. But this is now the machine doing it. Then we have another branch of machine learning. If we go down lower in the evolution, it's called deep learning. Deep learning is an advanced branch of machine learning. But with deep learning, it uses what is known as neural networks. And that neural networks have been inspired by the physiology of humans, where in the human, uh, you know, neurological system, where we have neurons that can interact with the human brain, take data, take the data that we feed it, process it, go through many iterations, learn, from that information, and then make very sophisticated predictions and keep iterating that to perfect those predictions and to make intelligent decisions. So that is what deep learning involves. And then in the more recent evolution of artificial intelligence, we've seen the proliferation of what is known as generative AI or business AI. And this is now an advanced branch of deep learning, right? So in generative AI, it basically uses, like deep learning, also uses large data sets of neural networks. And we call these large neural networks large language models or LLMs, right? And these LLMs can look at patterns, in the data, and then we can apply, these language models to interpret information or data, to create text, to create video, to create images, and data. So language models, when you apply a language model to interpret and create artifacts like text and video and images and so on, that is called generative AI. So, your typical chat GPT type of applications, chatbots, you've got your image generators of which there are so many now, on the market. All of these are part and parcel of what are referred to as generative AI applications. So that, in a nutshell, those four disciplines as artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, uh, and then generative AI. That is how we see the evolution of artificial intelligence, uh, over the past few years.
Beautifully explained and very, very insightful. This sounds like you're giving a doctorate, presentation paper. Well done just for
I hope not.
explaining those terms. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, you've explained them so well. So then let's bring the conversation home. And I love the fact that you've given us beautiful definitions. I'm a teacher by profession and I love to define terms. So I'm very excited just the way you handled the questions in terms of just defining these concepts and breaking them down. But let's look at the use cases, especially when it comes to the mining sector, because this conversation really is around the mining sector. Please describe some specific use cases that are applicable in the AI space when it comes to mining.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to do that. So I won't give away all of the goodies. I'm going to save that for the conference. But I'm going
Yes.
to talk about a few of the applications of AI in the mining space and some of those use cases in some of the most important areas. So obviously, AI lends itself to many applications across the value chain. When you look at the value chain of mining, you'll know that you have basically exploration and development, uh, on the one extreme. Then you have basically, the mine development. You also have the supply chain management, extraction of resources, supply chain management. You have the sales and marketing, and then you have the rehabilitation and mine closure and all of that. So it's quite a broad value chain. Now, if you look across that value chain, AI actually lends itself, to applications across the value chain. If I take one of the most important areas is in the discipline of mine planning and optimization. If you speak to mining uh, professionals, they will always tell you that mind planning and optimization. Not only is it extremely complex, but it is extremely time consuming because it takes a very long time to actually develop mind plans and to optimize those mind plans in a way that they can get the maximum kind of result out of it. I mean, miner's job is basically to get high quality ore or commodity out of the ground in a short and most efficient and productive way as possible. Now, to do that, they depend on mine planning and optimization. So, with AI, coming on the scene, uh, AI has actually transformed mine planning and optimization by being able to, leverage deep learning and large language, applying the large language models and so on and so forth to optimize the mine plans. So, what happens here is that miners use deep learning, they use advanced algorithms or optimization algorithms to consider very all of the different constraints that miners have to typically deal with, and the constraints could be constraints in availability of of equipment, in production schedules, in uh, uh, geological factors, so on and so forth. So, though those are the different constraints under which miners need to plan and need to take into account. So, here AI is able to use those algorithms to consider all of those constraints, and then using the powerful capability, the predictive capability that it has, these AI applications and algorithms can then provide simulations, okay, or provide simulation capability to predict the performance under different conditions. And by doing that, it can then identify what is the most optimal strategy that the miners need to pursue to get the maximum productivity and to minimize the cost as far as possible. And we very often find this being applied to actually optimize the performance of equipment. Mining, like these other industries, are asset intensive industries, so they rely quite heavily on on the usage of very expensive equipment, and those equipment need to be functioning at optimal performance. So what these companies do is they use AI to uh, you know to try and better make use of these machines by by using a concept known as predictive maintenance. So AI is able to deliver predictive maintenance capability where the machine learning algorithms can help reduce the downtime and improve the operational efficiency of those machines. As you know, if a machine goes down or equipment is not operating, the mine loses money. So with these predictive maintenance systems, mines are able to to address that challenge. So that's the first one. Okay, the first use case. Another use case that we also see is in the area of supply chain management, right? So, in fact, most of if based on the research that I've conducted, most of the um, industrial applications that have been undertaken to date have been uh, related in some form or shape to improving the industrial supply chain, right? And in the supply chain, if you look at the mining space, you'll know that there's obviously many different parts of the supply chain that need to be managed. So one, there's looking at the inventory management. Okay, looking at um, when we talk about inventory management, it's basically inventory of bulk commodities, whether it's coal or whether it's iron ore or whatever the case may. But these are bulk commodities which a company keeps an inventory of. So you need to be able to have an accurate view of what the inventory is. Now, unlike um, normal inventory that you have in a store or in a warehouse, you manufacture it, you put it on a shelf, and it stays there. With mining, commodities go pass through the value chain. So it starts off, with rock, and that rock is then processed, and you extract, commodity out of the rock. So the inventory then changes its shape and its form, and it also changes, its value as it moves to the value chain. So you need to account for what you have at every different stage, of the commodity supply chain. So this is where AI, is playing a very can play a very crucial role in tracking, in real time, the inventory, and also predicting, using the predictive capability, like it does for equipment with predictive maintenance. You are able to do predictive inventory management, which can actually predict a variety of inventory related tasks, which ultimately result in reducing the time that the inventory planning time. It can minimize your inventory costs. It is able to optimize your repairs. Um, you can determine optimal reorder points for critical spares and so on. And a lot of these tasks are very complex and time consuming. But when you leverage AI, you are able to use the AI and the algorithms behind the AI with machine learning to be able to perform simulations. And with those simulations, you get real-time visibility, you get predictive analytics, and you also get a very advanced level of automation. And it is because of that that you are able, in the supply chain area, through AI, companies have managed to optimize the logistics operations, such as the transportation operations and distribution networks. They've been able to reduce their costs, and they've been able to get their product to the customer faster, which then, of course, improves, customer satisfaction. So that's the second use case, which talks about supply chain. And then I'll just talk about one more, which is a very important one. It's about safety and risk management and environmental management and sustainability. Miners are under pressure globally to to create more sustainable operations. So we know in every global event that you attend, for these industries, um, environmental management, sustainability is really at the top of the agenda. Now, for ever since we can remember, safety and risk management are paramount in mining. Right? You cannot take shortcuts when it comes to safety and risk management, because you're dealing with with human lives at the end of the day. Now, AI technologies can uh, also, because of the machine learning capability, and deep learning, it can actually be used to enable proactive risk management. So you can have the ability to, detect the risk and mitigate the risk before an incident actually happens. And because you're able to, detect the risk ahead of when the incident will actually happen, you can better coordinate the response to those types of safety incidents, right? And how this is actually achieved is actually amazing. AI is now being used in conjunction with other, four IR technologies like IoT. Okay, IoT, of course, is the Internet of Things, where you can now uh, the data set, that these algorithms are using. The data is sourced from sensors that are installed in the mining environment, and that data comes through in real time. And that data is measuring critical conditions like uh, air quality, temperature, um, vibrations, okay, from a geological perspective, and so on. So, with that kind of data and access to real-time data through sensors, what AI is able to do now, it can detect whether or not there's a safety hazard, and once it's detected, if there's a safety hazard based on the data that is actually fed, it can now start predicting and forecasting what measures need to be taken to mitigate, any kind of safety threat or any type of incident that is likely to take place. And in doing that, overall, it contributes to enhancing safety and minimizing operational risks. And I think that is really super important for mining. The fact that they can now almost remotely monitor the conditions under which the miners are working, and if through AI they sense there's a threat to the safety of the miners, they can evacuate the miners before an incident actually happens, as an example. So that really, shows you um, the power, of AI in mining. So those are just three, I would say, simple. I mean, there are a dozen more use cases that we have, but I will save those use cases for our summit presentation.
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful insights you bring to the conversation. And from following you, it also just, well, my power has just gone now. I hope you can still see me.
Yes.
But you can hear, okay. But following you, it just also shows the kind of value that AI brings to the table. I love the fact that AI is allowing companies to be proactive in a lot of things rather than being reactive. And people are very concerned about the fact that AI is going to take away the jobs, and people get stuck with that. They forget to talk about the value that it brings. And from your explanation, really, it's very clear that AI brings a lot of value to the table. And yes, there are challenges that we're going to talk to just now, but that does not negate the fact that there's so much value that AI is bringing. And hence, then that brings me into the next question. So the big question that would be on any executive's mind is, understand the use cases, understand the value that AI will bring to us as a mining company, as a business. But then, what do mining companies need to do to be able to capture this full potential that AI brings?
Yes, that's a very important, question. And as you rightfully pointed out, um, organizations I've spoken with, they know what the use cases are, but they're not sure how to actually move forward. Now, one of the main reasons, why we have that situation is because there are certain cultural and organizational barriers that we encounter. So we what what we need to do is to see how we can break down those barriers so that these companies can actually embrace AI, without having any doubts about the value that it can bring, and with more clarity on what they can do to actually leverage the full benefit of it. So I would say, there are four kind of main or key shifts that organizations need to consider if they want to ramp up AI and take the full advantage that AI has to offer. So firstly, um, AI is not just about technology, right? If you don't engage the people in the organization, then you know you it's proven that it's not going to be successful. So in order to do that, you need to actually make sure that you involve all the people in the organization, that AI will actually impact. And I said, one of the organizational barriers to AI is a misconception that AI is going to take over your job. Okay.
Mm,
And that conception exists because people don't actually understand in the first place what AI is and all of these different concepts. And all they see is that this is a technology that is a threat to my job. And nobody wants to be in that position, right? Um, so and that's why they have there's this general reluctance. Now, first and foremost, if companies are undertaking AI implementations, they need to make sure that they can manage the change and address those kinds of sensitivities. And the only way you can do that is to take people along you on the journey. Also, AI, for AI to work, companies need to foster a greater level of collaboration between teams. Now, we know I work in a large company. We've got many different departments, right? And sometimes there's a tendency for those departments to work in silos. Now,
mm,
when you have a situation like that, it's counterproductive to you know to uh, um, to using or leveraging AI, because AI, should not only be confined to a specific area of the organization or to one particular silo. Instead, the greatest impact, of AI comes when you can uh, uh, apply it collaboratively in across cross-functional teams, uh, where AI is then able to address broader business priorities. So, although there may be a specific use case, you need to see how that use case can basically integrate all of the different, decision makers. So that's the second one. The third one, when it comes now, when I speaking about involving the decision makers, is remember AI and machine learning are primarily dependent on the data that you actually provide it with to be able to make predictions and simulations and drive decision making. So, however, okay, for that to succeed, you need people at every level in the organization to basically trust the suggestions that AI actually makes, and that they should have a feeling of empowerment. They must feel empowered to make decisions based on what the machine is recommending. Now, this is not an easy task to actually achieve. In fact, one of the biggest pushbacks, or barriers to adoption of AI is trust. The fact that a decision maker does not want to uh, place, the responsibility for making a crucial decision, and does not want to leave that decision to the machine because they don't trust it. And so, to overcome that, okay, there needs to be a good understanding of how the machine actually makes those decisions, what kind of data is being used to make that decisions, uh, and at the end of the day, the people that are involved in making the decisions need to realize that the machine is only complementary to the insights that they themselves bring. And the fact that you can always, with AI, override the algorithm or provide suggestions for improving it when necessary. So people need to be aware of that even though, you use AI, um, to make your decisions, you as the human that is in charge has the full autonomy and authority to be able to override those decisions and apply your own intellect. So it's not a case of a machine replacing a human, but it's a case of a machine complementing the human intellect. And that's also talks to the collaboration. And then, the last thing that companies need to do is, when they look at the use cases and they develop the AI strategies, they need to ensure that uh, their AI strategy is aligned to strategic, outcomes and business outcomes. So you're not going to have a situation, or you don't want to have a situation where you say, I'm going to, hey, we deploying this AI, and it's it's super awesome and it's so innovative and all of that. I mean, that's fine. But if that AI strategy is not aligned to your business strategy, in terms of what business outcomes you're expecting or your key stakeholders are expecting, then AI will fail. So uh, alignment between AI strategy and business strategy is fundamentally important. And then the last thing, which is, I would say, even challenging, is the fact that you know companies need to adopt an agile mindset. Uh, so, if companies are slow in moving, taking very long to make decisions, and so on and so forth, that also, hampers the progress that they can make with AI. With AI, you need to, start small, learn, and then grow, and then scale. To get it. But to do that, you need to be agile. And agile means you need to be able to make quick decisions. You need to be able to be um, flexible in making changes. You need to learn from your failures, and in that way you can actually accelerate your development. So those are some suggestions that we have for companies who want to get the maximum benefit out of AI.
Absolutely. Beautiful and deeply insightful. So I just love the way you've made this conversation very human centric as well. Because if the change management process is not properly implemented, I think that's where the challenges start. You talk about issues of trust. It all stems from issues of change management, right? How much do people trust these systems? And also, do people even understand that they have more power over these systems? So even if it's giving you a certain output, you can override it because you are a human being. You are more superior. You are able to make better decisions than these machines. So that's a whole big conversation on its own, Shabir, that we need to have, because I remain very passionate about the concept of people and machines working together side by side, and just people viewing these things as tools that are there to save them, rather than seeing these tools as they are supernatural, magical things that are able to do what human beings can't. Yes, in certain cases, these machines are faster and they're quicker and so on, but the human being remains at the center of all this. And in any case, these tools have been designed to help a human being be more efficient. So yes, I am totally aligned with all that you've shared, and really, I think we need to have another podcast where we can dive more into that change mindset conversation, agility. In the way people do things, and even agility from the leader's point of view. You have outlined certain concepts very well that organizations need to start small and then scale up. There's also the option of or the idea of allowing employees to also fail in the process, as you're looking at it. So it comes with a certain mindset, and you have just beautifully pieced all that together. And listen, I do want us to have another conversation that speaks to that human-centric mindset when it comes to change management and bringing in these tools. And as we start wrapping up this conversation cannot be complete if we do not talk about the challenges and the ethical considerations that industries, in particular, because we're talking about the mining sector, need to consider when implementing AI. So, do you just want to speak to that high level? What are some of the challenges? And I know you've spoken to some of the
Sure.
challenges as we've been conversing throughout this podcast, but just to tie it up together beautifully for people to have clarity. What are some of the challenges and the ethical considerations in implementing AI technologies?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. I'll just summarize briefly, what are some of those key
Yeah, are
challenges
you
for
there?
you. Of course, so if we look at, ethical considerations, there are a few, but I think I'll address some of the most common ones. I mean, firstly, with the introduction of AI, not only in mining, in any organization, right? It will face resistance because of what I said from workers, from your supervisors, the communities, and so on, because they have a fear that there's a potential negative impact on job availability due to the fact that machines will replace jobs, and that's a direct threat, to concerns around displacement, that AI will displace human labor by automation, uh, and that's creates a lot of tension and unnecessary stress. But like we said, those concerns are sometimes not very well founded, or they are misrepresented, because as we just in our conversation, we were discussing the fact that these are complementary. We should look at this as complementary. It's not a machine that replaces the human completely, but it's rather the human using the AI to actually enhance productivity. But that's the first thing, okay, is the social dynamic where the fear that it can replace jobs. The other one, that we also find uh, is is um, around bias. Okay, so AI applications, as I said, uses a lot of data. And if we look at the data that is available from our experience, without available data, it's not possible to train AI systems. Okay, so there is a disparity between the amount of data that is available, uh, say, in mining regions that are, in developed territories, such as, say, the global south, uh, and uh, underdeveloped or developing markets, say, for example, here in Africa. Okay. So in developed markets, you have data that can very effectively be used to train your AI models. Okay. But we don't have in underdeveloped markets the same type of data that those advanced economies have. So, there I would say then there is data bias, because the data that they use may result in a successful deployment of AI, but we cannot apply that success to the same kind of use case or scenario, in our context, because we don't have the same level or quality of data. So there's a data disparity, and that then leads obviously to bias. So something that works, in Australia or in North America will not necessarily work in Africa. So we need to take that into account. We need to take the regional context into account, and the localization context, and of course also the um, um, the situation in which mines operate. That's the the political environment and so on. So um, the then the third one, is, we spoke about it, is this question of trust, right? Mines, um, decision makers in mines, or in any company for that matter, have this reluctance to accept a recommendation that is made by an AI application or by a machine. And the reason they do that is out of fear that, if the AI algorithm makes a wrong decision, right, then at the end of the day, some human is going to have to take the ownership or the accountability for the error. You can't say, no, the machine made this error. So people have, this inherent trust issue to say, well, if I make the decision based on what the machine does, and then it's a wrong decision, then it's going to be basically fall back on me to be able to account for a decision that the machine makes. So I rather, make my own decisions based on, the process that I'm following. So that is a big issue. All right. And that's one of the challenges that we have. On a broader scale, if we look at the sea level, we've spoken to some sea levels in one of our conferences last year, and their biggest issue with adopting AI technologies was the fact that if AI is left, to make some of these important decisions, then it's very likely that if a decision is made and it results in an accident, or it results in loss of production, or it you know results in risk or potential risk exposure to the workers, it could have a long-term damaging effect on um, on the organization itself. So, their brand reputation is at stake, and they are very reluctant to, uh, expose themselves as a result of, a mistake that has been caused as a result of, a algorithm that didn't make an accurate prediction or recommendation. So that causes them, to be reluctant, because they feel that they have a reputation to protect, and they don't want to, actually uh, place the full trust, in the machine itself. And then the last one, which is perhaps the most important one, uh, there is a general reluctance simply because very few of the people, that will be impacted by AI, know exactly what AI actually involves, and the concept of AI systems in general, right? When we talk about AI algorithms, people often think of these things as black boxes, where you put in a whole lot of data and then it goes in that black box, and then there's something that happens, and then all of a sudden, you get a recommendation that comes out, and uh, and then you have to follow the recommendation. But what is missing there is the ability to explain, and interpret what is going on, and explain that to the decision maker in a way that makes sense to a human being. It's humanizing, the whole concept of AI at the level which they are comfortable with. And as I said, concerns voiced, by mine workers, uh, regarding job displacement, and all of that, can very often be mitigated by simply going the extra mile, empowering, these mine workers with knowledge, making the system more transparent, so that it's not perceived as a black box. So you can see, this is the data that you're taking. If you had to make the decision, you would have to apply, if you're doing it yourself, you would take this data, you would then apply your logic to this data, you would interpret this data, and then you would synthesize it, and then you would go through that, conceptual process in your mind, and you would then be able to make a decision. Now, in exactly the way you make the decision as a human being with your brain, we need to make this black box of AI more transparent, so the user can see, well, you know what, AI is not doing anything more different than what I'm doing. In fact, it is actually just following the process, but it's automating a lot of the time consuming processes that I would have to go through, and using all of these advanced tools to make a decision. And ultimately, if I'm not happy with the decision, I can override it. So if you get that level of engagement, AI is seen more as a productivity tool, as opposed to being something that is more intrusive and something that is going to threaten, their jobs. and so on. So that all, comes down to change management, transparency, collaboration, is convincing, the workers that will be exposed to AI, that these new systems are designed, and these new technologies are designed to be very much human centric. Okay. um, and they are only there to complement the tremendous, knowledge and capability that humans are able to bring to the conversation. So, so those are some of the most important, areas in terms of ethical considerations. Hopefully, that gives you some insights into what we need to consider when we talk about ethics. But it's a huge topic. It's a separate topic on its own. You know, which we can talk about. Perhaps in another session.
Well, Shabir, you're a great wealth of knowledge. You've just brought so much value, and just being able to explain these concepts in a more relatable way. I've absolutely enjoyed this podcast. I've enjoyed the conversation. You've simplified, things that look like big jargons for everyday people to understand. For those executive people, the C-suite executive people that are not technical, to also understand so that they can embrace the new dispensation that we are in. I have learned a lot myself just sitting here and listening to you, and I'm sure the listeners also, are going to find this so valuable. So now, as we completely close this podcast, what are your closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed having the conversation with you. I felt totally at home and comfortable, having the discussion. And I'm a scholar. Uh, so, if you get me talking, I can go on for hours. You'll have to stop me.
Love it, love it,
uh,
love it.
just, yeah, some concluding remarks. I think, we've, through the conversation, established that AI, it has emerged as a transformative force, not only in the mining industry. There are many solutions that AI can be used to solve some very complex challenges uh, across the value chain, from exploration right down to mine closure. There's a space for AI technologies, to be able to enhance safety, efficiency, sustainability, productivity, and so on. And even though we address some of the challenges and the limitations, the continued, the advancement and adoption of AI is definitely, going to drive more improvements in the future. I am a firm believer that, by embracing, AI driven innovation and collaboration, um, the mining industry, or any other industry for that matter, can navigate some of the challenges that it faces in the 21st century, and more importantly, can pave the way, for a more efficient, more sustainable, and more responsible future, not only for the industry, but for all the inhabitants on our planet.
Beautifully put and well said. And on that note, it's ciao ciao until we see each other again on this podcast. It's goodbye.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Have a lovely day, and take care of yourself.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.